How good will the Jacksonville Jaguars offense be this upcoming NFL season? Last year, we already know it pretty much was a disaster under Urban Meyer. There were a lot of questionable decisions, such as deciding to give Carlos Hyde more carries than James Robinson. I would never get over that, simply for the fact that I had James Robinson on a lot of my fantasy football teams, and I was really frustrated. I didn't understand what was going on, but I don't have to be upset anymore because Urban's gone and you have new head coach Doug Peterson. So with Doug Peterson coming in, this offense should without a doubt right off the top be way better than what it was last season. But the couple of questions that I have, the first one going to be is, how improved is Trevor Lawrence going to be? He was the number one overall pick last year. He struggled. He had 17 interceptions to 12 touchdowns. And it wasn't all his fault. The wide receiver position got banged up. DJ Chark went down really early in the season. The only reliable options that you really had at receiver were Marvin Jones and Laquan Treadwell. And yes, you did hear that right. Laquan Treadwell, during the course of last year, the middle and tail end of the season, was one of the best receivers on this roster. And I'm really excited to see what Laquan Treadwell does this year. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. But for Trevor Lawrence, I'm expecting him to take a major step in improvement this season. I think that he possibly could be the most improved quarterback from his draft class, simply for the fact that he was in the worst situation out of all of them. Terrible head coach, had a play caller that didn't really know what he was doing, and didn't really have a great group of receivers around him. So I definitely expect Trevor to improve in 2022. The offensive line, I don't think is as bad as what people make it out to be. But again, I said that last year, and I was kind of wrong. But I'm going to hold firm on my stance for another season in a row and say that I think Jacksonville's offensive line should be decent. And I think that it has the potential to be slightly above average. You have left tackle Cam Robinson. I think Ben Barch showed a lot of upside last season that I expect him to remain at left guard. You have center Tyler Shatley, but he also potentially could end up getting beat out by a rookie, Luke Fortner, who Jacksonville drafted in this past year's NFL draft out of Kentucky. He has the ability to play not only center, but offensive guard as well. You signed Brandon Sheriff, who has been one of the best interior offensive linemen in the NFL for the last couple of seasons. That was one of the biggest free agency signings. I love that one. And then you have right tackle Jawan Taylor. But I think that there could be a high possibility that if Jawan Taylor struggles this year, that Walker Little could end up starting over him at that right tackle spot. And you got to remember that when Walker Little was first drafted by Jacksonville and Urban Meyer, he was already interviewed and asked during the draft process, could he play both left and right tackle? So there is a possibility that we could see Walker Little start over Jawan Taylor this year. Then, when it comes to running back, now James Robinson at the moment is still recovering from an Achilles injury, and we don't know how healthy he's going to be come training camp time. We don't know if he's going to be able to be full go come the start of training camp, or if he's going to be able to come in training camp during some part of it. But when you were talking to Doug Peterson, there were some people who were saying that Doug Peterson says that they expect him to be back during some time during training camp or the preseason. So you had Travis Etienne, and Travis Etienne didn't play at all last year. And if you ask him how he feels about that, he didn't miss anything. So I'm excited for Travis Etienne. There are a lot of people who are excited about him, mainly in the fantasy football community. There are a lot of people who have them tabbed as a breakout player, and I think it can definitely happen. You look at the explosiveness that he brings to this offense, and also he has the potential to do a lot more than what James Robinson can do. Not only can he catch out of the backfield, but there have been rumors about him being utilized as a receiver, being put out wide, and also in the slot. And there is a running back that Philadelphia had during the Super Bowl run that had a role that he was kind of utilized in what people think that Travis Etienne is kind of going to have on this offense. And his name was Corey Clement. So if you remember Corey Clement, he had a pretty big role in the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl run in 2018. He was really good when it came to catching the ball out of the backfield. He actually had a touchdown reception in that Super Bowl win and their upset against the New England Patriots. So I think that you can see Travis Etienne have a not only bigger role than what Clement had that year with Philadelphia in 2018, but he's going to be a better version of that. So Doug Peterson does have some familiarity when it comes to using players that have the skill set of Travis Etienne. Then with the fact that we don't really know how healthy James Robinson is going to be, if he can't go week 1, then Travis Etienne is going to get the bulk load of the carries. You also have rookie running back out of Ole Miss and Snoop Connor, who probably is going to be your third option or your second option, depending on how James Robinson heals up from that injury. Tight end is really interesting. You have Dan Arnold, who you acquired in the trade from the Carolina Panthers. He had a little bit of some production last year. And then you signed Evan Engram in free agency this offseason. And Evan Engram is somebody who has a ton of upside. This is somebody who has been to a Pro Bowl. He has a lot of athleticism. However, he struggles when it comes to catching the football. But when it comes to me, if you have drop problems, that's fixable. All you got to do is spend a little bit of time after practice on that jug machine. Get those hands right. Go home. Buy your jug machine. Evan Engram is, a millionaire? He should be. So he shouldn't have no problem buying him a little jug machine. I know you can get one off Amazon or eBay for the low. And just work on them hands, man. There is no reason why any professional football player should struggle when it comes to catching the football. That's one of the easiest things that you can improve. All it takes is time, practice, and repetition. When it comes to catching the football, it really should just be an instinct, right? For those of you guys who have ever played football, and you ever played wide receiver or a tight end, catching the football shouldn't be something that you have to think about. It should just be reactionary. You feel me? So for Evan Engram, I think that he can be a very good cog in this Jaguars offense. I really believe it. And a lot of people have been saying that I was crazy. Had a lot of homeboys that was saying that, JT, you tripping if you think Evan Engram is going to be something special with the Jaguars. Listen, I think Evan Engram can be really good. This is one of the most athletically gifted tight ends in the NFL. And as I mentioned earlier, drop passes can be fixed. Now, wide receiver is where I have my biggest questions, because I don't really like the wide receiver position. I'm gonna be dead honest with you, Jaguar fans. So if you guys have something negative to say, if you want to go ahead and call me an idiot, you might as well go ahead and do so, because I don't really have too many good things to say. I do like Marvin Jones, and Marvin Jones is a very, very good wide receiver too in this league. So I like him, but I don't really love the signing of Zay Jones. I think that Zay Jones, at best, is your fourth best wide receiver on a championship football team. I don't think he's all that great. I have concerns about how effective he's going to be with Jacksonville, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up having a letdown season. You do have Christian Kirk, however, and Christian Kirk is a really interesting discussion, right? Because he's coming off the best season of his career with Arizona. And you paid him essentially to be your wide receiver 1, right? However, it looks as if Jacksonville is going to work him in the slot, which is probably the best position for him. But he also has the ability to play outside as well. And if you're paying somebody that kind of money, I would expect them to be playing on the outside, because I don't know how comfortable I would be having Zay Jones on the outside. I personally think that Laquan Treadwell is a better option if you had to start somebody other than Christian Kirk on the outside at that other opposite wide receiver spot to Marvin Jones. I would put Laquan Treadwell over Zay Jones. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just don't think that Zay Jones is really a third or second option on any offense. I think if you're asking Zay Jones to be your second or third best wide receiver, you're kind of in trouble, because for pretty much the majority of his career, he has pretty much been a fourth or fifth option in every offense that he's been in. So I think when you look at Christian Kirk, he definitely does have all of the upside to be a wide receiver 1 in this league. All I think he really needs is just the opportunity and the volume. But where my concern with this wide receiver position lies, it's not with Marvin Jones and Christian Kirk. It's really with Zay Jones, because we don't know who's going to be that other outside wide receiver. We do know that Christian Kirk is going to spend a good amount of time outside, but he's also going to spend time in the slot. So when Christian Kirk is on the other outside spot, opposite to Marvin Jones, you're probably going to have Laviska Shenault there, which I don't know if a lot of you Jaguar fans have lost faith in Laviska Shenault, but I still think that Laviska Shenault can be a really productive player if he just is given the opportunity. I feel he was kind of underutilized. Injuries also have kind of hampered him as well. So I still haven't lost faith in Laviska. I still have a lot of confidence in Laviska. I still think he can be solid. So overall, I'm not really all too thrilled about the wide receiver position. Don't get me wrong, it's better than what it was last year. They had Tavon Austin out there catching touchdowns, ladies and gentlemen. Tavon Austin. You remember Tavon Austin? One of the greatest college football players of the past decade. He got drafted by the Rams first overall in the first round, 2013. Remember what happened to him? Yeah. Not too many people knew that he played on the Jaguars last year. He was catching touchdowns last season for Jacksonville. So that tells you everything that you need to know about the receiver position and how bad it was last season. So overall, even though I do have my doubts about how good the receiver position is going to be, this is an offense that is still going to be predicated on the run game. Doug Peterson made that a strong emphasis, and pretty much all of his pressers, that Jacksonville is going to be a run-first football team. So expect Travis Etienne and when James Robinson gets healthy to get a lot of touches and to carry the bulk load of this offense. And I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be put in a more easier situation because he's not going to be asked to do as much compared to last season. And then plus, the fact that you have a proven winner at head coach is somebody who kind of knows what he's doing on the offensive side of the football at the NFL level gives me a lot of confidence in this offense. So I think that the Jaguars could be one of the most improved offenses in 2022. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a top 10 offense. I don't even think it's going to be a top 15 offense, but I definitely think that this is going to be an offense that's going to be somewhere between 17th and 18th this year, which is major improvement compared to where they were last year. And then also you're going to have a Trevor Lawrence who's going to be better when it comes to taking care of the football. He's going to be smarter. I just think that this is an offense that's just going to take a lot of great steps this season in 2022.